Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on the channel today for our market update for September of 2025. We're in October. We'll be reviewing the market update for the end of September 2025. All the numbers we're going to talk about today were produced from the Southwest Florida MLS. There's no filters on those numbers. If we ever did need to change anything or set a filter for something, we definitely let you know before we were looking at the number. So I'm sharing insights and trends behind these stats so you can make the best real estate decision possible, whether you're buying, selling, or investing. So thanks again for joining me on the channel. This channel focuses on everything to do with buying, selling, or investing right here in beautiful Southwest Florida. I would love to partner with you on your real estate journey. So give me a call or text me at 239-266-9012 to chat. All right, let's jump on into the numbers. All right, so as I mentioned, all the data used in this market update was pulled directly from the MLS itself for the month end September 2025. Right? There's no modifications or manipulations to those numbers. If we had to set any type of filter on those, we would let you know. The first stat we're going to take a look at is going to be the home price. So it's always the first question people ask. So in Gateway, the median sales price came in at about $388,500. That's down roughly 18% from this time last year. So just to kind of cover how these slides will work, we have a combination of bar and line graphs that we're going to look at. On the bar graph side, you're mostly going to see comparisons to 2023, 2024, and 2025, and that's going to be the month of September. So we're looking the month of September in 2025, the month of September in 2024, and the month of September in 2023. So that's just kind of the layout. You'll see Gateway will be in blue and Fort Myers will be in this pink color. All right. So we'll see again in Gateway, median sales price came down to about 388.5. That's down roughly 18% from last year. Fort Myers, on the other hand, held pretty steady around 345,000. So that's barely down at all from the 347 that we saw in 2024. So now that drop in Gateway doesn't mean that homes are losing value per se. It just means fewer high-end homes sold last month. So the mid-range homes are definitely moving and the luxury side had slowed down a bit. So for sellers, this means pricing smart is key. Don't chase last year's numbers, right? For buyers, this might be your window to grab a deal in neighborhoods that might have been a little out of reach last year. All right, so keeping with the same stats here, the closed price, the median, again, 388.5. This is just a line graph version of what we were looking at. Okay, so this shows the story play out over time, basically. In Gateway, you'll see is the blue line. It's higher because of its newer communities, gated neighborhoods, and golf course homes. But you can see how it's dipped recently while Fort Myers, which is in pink, has flattened out. So we do have this little bit of a dip here the past month. But overall, you could see that it keeps the same trend. Gateway is typically higher than overall Fort Myers. So this is what a normalizing market really does look like. So after a wild few years, right? So we see these drops here, things are finally starting to level off. So expect a little bump as we move into season. That would affect things, and that's basically what's going on right now. But gone are the days of 10 offers in one weekend, right? So it's a lot calmer, it's a lot more predictable. And that's a good thing. And you're going to hear often through this market update how we mentioned that, right? The name of the game here is stabilization, and we're kind of seeing a standardization of things, which is good to see. So close price average is 413,593. So Gateway averaging that. Fort Myers came in a little higher this month at 445.5. So why the flip, right? If we take a look from 2024 to 2025, we have a dip there. Why the flip? A few higher end sales closed in Fort Myers, and Gateway had more mid range sales, just like we talked about when we were looking at the median, right? So mid range is kind of where most of the focus was, at least in Gateway. And that's just market mix, not a sign that Gateway is suddenly cheaper by any means. For buyers, it means Fort Myers still has plenty of opportunity there, especially if you want something move-in ready near the city. Fort Myers, or for sellers rather, in Gateway, you want to make sure that your home shines in photos and the condition is good. It definitely pays off. Right. Next slide, we're going to look at new listings, and we see that number is at 43 new listings in Gateway, and Fort Myers had around 680, which is slightly down from the 694 of last year. So we're not seeing a flood of new inventory here. People aren't panic selling anymore. Most sellers are listing intentionally, either to relocate, upsize, or to cash out. And for buyers, that means the good homes are still competitive. Sellers, on the other hand, presentation and pricing matter more than ever because buyers are comparing every detail. And that's what we see in a balanced market where, transactions are seeing a lot of negotiations back and forth between the buyers and sellers. You're going to understand that it's pretty balanced at this point. So next is total homes for sale, and we see that number being 155 active homes, and Fort Myers has around 2,900, basically flat year over year there, right? So that's a big difference from last year's surge. If we look back to 2023 to 2024, we see a huge jump there. But now, again, between 2024 and 2025, we see that stabilization, which signifies a relatively healthy market. So when inventory levels off, prices have a better shot at staying consistent instead of swinging wildly all over the place. If you've been waiting to sell, you're not too late. The key is just entering the market ready and not reactively. This is just a line graph. So the longer chart gives you the bigger picture here, right? So from 2015 all the way up to 2025, you could see the trend, and Fort Myers is on the top, Gateway is on the bottom. And although a lot more up and down in Fort Myers, Gateway still follows that same kind of trend. You see the dip here in 21, 22, going into 23, and then it comes back up, and it's similar. So what that means is simple. We're finally back to a normal market, more balanced, more breathing room. Buyers have choices again, and sellers who prepare are still selling strong. So it's basically gone from, a chaotic market to a pretty steady, balanced one. Next, month supply of inventory. So this slide is what we refer to as the market thermometer. Gateway is at 6.4 months of supply, and Fort Myers is at 7.1. For context, around 6 months means it's, again, a relatively balanced market. We're not in a crazy seller's market, but we're not in a buyer's market either. So when we see that around 6 months, usually it's really between like 6 and 7. It's really a balanced market. That balance gives both sides a fair shot. Buyers get options. Sellers get offers if they're priced realistically. It's healthy, sustainable, and it's the kind of market that creates long-term stability. Is it going to change at all? There's a lot of people that are saying buyers are still waiting for the interest rates to come down even more. That may be, but all things being relative, it is pretty stable at this point. Pending sales, we saw 42 pending sales. So here's the good news. Buyer activity is definitely picking back up. So pending sales jumped big time. Gateway saw a 180% increase from 2024. So we saw 15 pending sales in September 2024. We're at 42 we saw in September of 2025. Fort Myers was up too, 24% compared to last year, but nothing compared to the 180% we saw in Gateway. So that means more homes are going under contract again, which is an awesome thing. Buyers are adjusting to rates, seeing opportunity, and getting off the sideline. So overall, buyers are feeling, even though they'd like to see interest rates come down a little more, they realize that there's value to be had in purchasing in our area now. So that's great that we're seeing all these homes going under contract. So if you're a seller wondering if the market has gone cold, it has not. The motivated buyers are out there and they're writing contracts. Keep in mind that regardless of what you may be hearing in the news or on social media, transactions are happening every day. People are buying and selling and investing in homes all the time, and it's only getting better. So we're going to look at total closings in the month of September. We see that closed sales, the homes, again, these are actually the homes that made it to the closing table, right? These numbers are trending up too. We went from 24 in 2024 to 30. So Gateway closed 30 homes. That's 25% up, which is good. Fort Myers closed 347, which is up still about 4% there. So that's a healthy bump and a sign that contracts are sticking. Buyers are serious, lenders are getting deals done, and homes that show well and are priced right are definitely moving. Next, we're going to take a look at the percent of last list price. So this one tells us how much homes are selling for compared to the asking price. So just for an example, let's say you have a home and you're going to put it up for sale, put it on the MLS for $500,000. And during the course of it being on the MLS, let's say the price changes slightly and you end up about $450,000. And then you get an offer for maybe $440,000. This number that we're looking at here is the difference between that $450,000 and $440,000. So keeping that example in mind, Gateway and Fort Myers are both right around 96% of the list price, meaning sellers are giving up roughly about 4% of what that final list price is when it comes to accepting the offer. Right? So another example, so on a $400,000 home, that's about $16,000 difference when you're looking at that 96%. So that's normal for this type of market. There's a little more negotiation happening, which is great, but still within a healthy range. Bottom line, price it right from day one and you'll sell it faster and close closer to your number. Days on market, we're looking at the median here. So now this is where you'll really notice a change. Gateway homes are taking about 86 days to sell, and Fort Myers is right behind at about 79 days. So that's about a 2.5 to 3 month period of time on market, which might sound long compared to those 2021, 22 numbers, but remember that was an anomaly. So this is actually a return to normal Florida selling timelines. Buyers have time to shop, sellers need to stay patient, and homes are still selling. They're just not selling overnight. And if you take a look at the line graph here back from 2015, you could see that we are pretty much back in pre-pandemic numbers, right? So it might be a little higher here and there, but overall, it's kind of leveled off to back pre-pandemic. So this is really a good example of what a real market looks like. It gives everyone a chance to breathe, do inspections, make smart decisions instead of racing to close. So if you're selling, don't panic. If it takes a little longer, it's absolutely normal. The buyers will come. They're just taking their time. So this is the days on market, and we're looking at the average on this side, not the median. So this averages everything out, including the slow mover. So Gateway is around 124 days. Fort Myers sits near 102. So those longer numbers mostly come from the homes that were overpriced or needed some work. The well-presented move-in ready homes still selling much faster. It's the classic story. Price and condition sell houses. If both line up, you'll stand out and sell strong and fast. So that brings us to the end of our market update for this month. Some of the quick takeaways. Keep in mind, it's a relatively balanced market. We're looking at numbers between 6 and 7 months of supply, and that signifies stability, which is really great. Demand is definitely returning. Pendings are up. Remember, 180% in Gateway, which is super exciting. And, especially as season starts, we might even see more in October, right? Prices are mix driven, not collapsing. Turnkey listings still command premiums. Overall, things are looking stable. So that being said, if you're thinking about buying or selling in Gateway, now is the time to have a strategy session. Whether you're looking to capitalize as a buyer or want expert advice, feel free to give me a call. I'd be happy to be your guide. Text or call me anytime, 239-266-9012. And if you found this information helpful, please go ahead, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment for me below. I answer all the comments. I love to have conversations with you on YouTube, but also give me a call anytime for a chat. Thanks once again for joining me on this month's market update, and I'll catch you on the next one.